out to?
That's generally how we operate.
Okay. All right. So while we touched upon India and the U.S., the India-U.S. nuclear deal led by Prime Minister Manmohan Singh was a landmark step in India-U.S. bilateral relations. What do you see as the long-term prospects for India-U.S. relations, especially in terms of strategic partnerships? You've touched upon it a little bit, but if you could elaborate.
So there are two elements. The first is the defense cooperation, which is important, and I think we do a good job there. But then the second is what I touched on just now, which is China has placed in front of us a vision for production and prosperity in a non-democratic environment. Right? What is our response? Are we simply going to just sit there and say, okay, China can be the producer of the world and we're not going to do anything? Or do we have a response? What is our response to the Belt and Road? Right? I don't see one. So to me, that's really where US and India cooperation needs to go. How can we provide a democratic vision of production or manufacturing that actually works to the rest of the world? And I think both countries bring different things to the table. And I think there's a huge opportunity there.
Okay. So just staying on India and U.S., is there a political consensus within India on deepening strategic ties with the U.S.?
Yes. I mean, I don't see a big diversion. I don't see Mr. Modi diverting very much from our approach with the U.S., and I don't see ourselves changing direction very much from what he's doing. So I see continuity there. I think everybody on both sides of the equation, everybody does accept the fact that the India-U.S. relationship is key for both countries.
Okay. One more on the U.S. With the backdrop of an increasingly assertive China, the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict, and the crisis in Gaza, how do you view the role of the United States in global affairs?
I think you're a very powerful democracy. You believe in certain ideas on freedom, on democratic participation, and I think that's important for the world. I don't like a world where democracy were to disappear, were to weaken, right? So I think there you have a very important role to play. But standing on this side, I see challenges coming that, frankly, you've not faced before. And I don't think it's going to be that easy. The central question is, how do you challenge China on production and value addition, right? China's strength comes from that. Yes, China has a strong military, but the military strength comes from that ability to produce. It comes from Americans buying Chinese product. It comes from Indians buying Chinese product. And what are you going to do about it? Because we can't carry on this trajectory. Certainly I can talk for India. We simply cannot go forward without building a manufacturing base, without involving large numbers of our people, creating jobs for them. So for us, it's, we're not a Singapore where we can say, now we'll do services and everything will be fine. We can't do it. We have over 1 billion people, and we have to give them an answer. And that answer can only come from production.
Okay. One on national security. With India facing complex security challenges, particularly along its external borders, with two hostile nuclear-armed neighbors, as seen in incidents like Galwan in 2020, what's your perspective on ensuring a comprehensive national security policy? How should India navigate this volatile geopolitical environment? And you've spoken about
very carefully.
You've spoken about the Ladakh border
without making too many mistakes. No, I think, look, the world is changing. there's a huge increase in China's power. China is our neighbor. We have a relationship with the United States. So we are right in the middle of all this geopolitical change. And so we have to have a long-term vision, strategic vision, and it shouldn't be one tactical move after another tactical move. It should be, okay, this is how we're thinking about it for the long term. This is the basic foundation, and we're going to walk on this path. I think the central elements of that, from our perspective, have to be the democratic idea. Have to be the central ideas that our freedom fighters, and Mahatma Gandhi and others fought for, which is peace, non-violence, cooperation, harmony.
All right. But it's difficult to do with an aggressive neighbor.
Yeah, but India's pretty smart at doing these type of things. I mean, we can maneuver. I'm confident about that. But it's important that, to do this properly, you have to have a very good sense of who you are and what your own nature is.
Right.
And that's where I don't agree with the current dispensation. When you imagine yourself to be something you're not, that's when the problems come, right? India is a very plural country. India is an open country. India is not one idea. India is multiple ideas. And when you imagine yourself to be something you're not, that's when all your strategic problems start.
So I've just gotten a bunch.
I mean, we are weakening our biggest asset, right? Our biggest strategic asset, India's biggest strategic asset, which is our democracy, which is just not India's asset, it is the world's asset, because it's so big, it's a global public good. It's being attacked in India, right? And that is the foundation. That's the foundation of all our strategic imperatives.
Right. So you say, democracy is being attacked, and I've had this conversation with Mr. Pitroda, that the Indian voter is very resilient and very knowledgeable. It's not, and if you see the election results, does it give you more hope for democracy in India?
It does. Look, but
okay.
It's not good enough to say that the Indian voter is resilient and knowledgeable, because the Indian voter is informed by a whole set of structures, right? So if we don't have a level playing field, the voter might be very knowledgeable and and resilient. It doesn't really matter. We fought an election with our bank accounts frozen, right? Now, I don't know. I don't know any democracy where that's happened. Maybe, that type of thing happens in Syria or used to happen in Iraq. But we literally sat during our election and spoke to our treasurer, and he says, well, we have no money, right? Now, you can have a resilient voter. You still need to run campaigns. You still need to have conversations. You still need to have meetings, right? I've got 20 plus cases in me. I'm the only person in Indian history to get a prison sentence for defamation, right? We have a chief minister who's in jail right now. So, one way of saying it is, yes, the Indian voter is very resilient, and he stands like a rock. Absolutely, he does. But the Indian voter requires an architecture to work on, which is not there.
But would you say that Indian democracy is resilient and it can't be broken?
Well, I can say to you that Indian democracy for the last 10 years was broken.
But it's on an upward trajectory.
It's fighting back, but it was broken. I have seen the government of Maharashtra just being taken away from us. So I've seen it with my own eyes. I've watched it as our legislators have been bought and hooked off and suddenly became BJP legislators. So Indian democracy has been under attack, has been very badly weakened, and now it's fighting back. And I'm confident that it will fight back.
Okay. U.S. is scheduled for elections very, very soon. How do you think Trump and Harris will differ on India policy? And do you think one is better for India?
I don't think they'll differ very much on India policy. I don't know.
You don't?
I think there's, on both sides, there's basic acceptance of the relationship between these two countries. So I don't think we'll differ very much from Mr. Modi on this issue. And I don't think the Democrats or the Republicans will differ very much. I might be completely wrong.
Okay.
Certainly on the fundamental idea that India is a partner, I don't think there'll be any disagreement.
Another one from the audience. Does the Congress Party believe that the caste census is the antidote to the BJP RSS Hindutva politics? And is the Congress acknowledging the way forward is a revival of the Mandal Kamandal discourse?
No, I don't think we see it as anything to do with the BJP's policies. The Congress Party has always, right from even before independence, we've always fought for the idea that India should be a fair country. The idea that all India's citizens should be treated the same way. And so we feel very strongly that there is a very, very deep problem of participation. And we're going to address that problem. I don't see it as a Mandal versus Kamandal issue. And what we're saying is different than the idea of only reservations. What we're saying is we want a comprehensive understanding first of what's going on, and then we're going to apply a series of policies to correct it, reservation being one of them.
Right.
We've also said that we're going to, somebody misquoted me yesterday saying that I'm against reservations. I've been saying again and again and again, we're going to increase reservations beyond 50%. I'm not against reservations.
But do you think they should be economic-based?
Our caste is a central issue in India. It's a fundamental issue in India. So the question, look, I don't think the idea of untouchability exists anywhere else, right? Untouchability is way beyond an economic idea. It is, you simply cannot be touched, right? So I don't think it's only an economic idea. I think it's discrimination on many, many, many different axes.
Okay. So your grandmother, Indira Gandhi, was instrumental in the liberation of Bangladesh, and the Manmohan Singh government also had good relations with former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. What's your perspective on the newly formed interim government in Bangladesh, and how do you see India's relationship with Bangladesh evolving? Do you think it should be party-oriented or people-oriented?
I mean, we have a old relationship with the people of Bangladesh, and you're right. My grandmother was deeply involved with the creation of Bangladesh. I think there are concerns in India about extremist elements in Bangladesh, and we share some of those concerns. However, I'm confident that things will stabilize in Bangladesh and that we would be able to have a relationship with the current government or any other government after that.
So in your meetings on Capitol Hill with lawmakers, was Bangladesh a focus of your discussions, particularly the attacks on minorities?
We raised it, and they also spoke to us. Look, we are against any type of violence, and we want it to stop. And it's the responsibility, frankly, of the Bangladeshi government to stop it as soon as possible. And from our side, it's the responsibility of our government to put pressure so that violence stops.
Some observers say the U.S. should exert more pressure on Prime Minister Modi, but others say external pressure makes little difference. What is your view, and what do you think the U.S. posture should be toward India today?
Pressure on what?
On Mr. Modi?
About what?
about whatever the criticisms are.
Pakistan's instigation of terrorism in our country is holding the two countries back. We are not going to accept Pakistan carrying out terror acts in our country. We're just not going to accept it.
Okay.
And until they keep doing that, there's going to be problems between us.